Thank you for joining and welcome to the conversation tonight. We are the Contemplative Citizen, an open-air think tank, whereby we the people come together today, now, to draft initiatives that solves tomorrow's most impactful issues. A little bit sad tonight. I feel like we have the opportunity to help the U.S. Congress develop the political will to temper this governmental overreach that we have seen since this day, March 12th, 2 years ago, when the WHO first announced a global pandemic. I don't need to tell you because you're the ones most impacted by it. People are losing their jobs, their homes. We've all lost our freedoms and some liberties. But the current approach used by government is to regulate more, to spend more. What we can offer as a think tank, as a lobbyist, the people's lobby, for lack of a better word, is to ask the operative question. I mean, this is what we should have asked Ted Cruz. Do you believe additional government powers can really cure governmental overreach? I mean, the answer is clearly no. Governments have proven this, that once powers are granted, even temporary, with the best of intentions, cannot and will not be rescinded by government, who itself was the primary beneficiary. So that leads us to what our response will be. The answer, the People's Convoy. And it is doing what you need it to get done. It has brought attention, global attention, to the problem that we're facing. You have embraced flash convoys, organized convoys, and now flash convoys that just roll out onto the DC Beltway. That's wonderful. Obeying traffic laws so that they have no reason, no legitimate reason to halt your activities. For the not in my backyard folks to speak up and complain and yell. This will give you the longevity needed to have the impact that you seek. So I applaud your efforts. But don't be so courteous that you allow your flash convoys to be divided. Just simply obey the laws to the letter. Drive at speed, use the stop signs, go in turn. But if you get separated, have the people in front slow down so that you are one unified convoy and have that massive presence. Another option that we haven't seen is organizing parade routes, like get on the streets, people walking at night. Like when you go out you could organize a dinner in DC night and just walk the streets. But don't exit the sidewalks, don't block the intersections, just walk. Stop at the stop lines, occupy both sides of the street, let people walk by and through and past. Don't block traffic. And your message will continue even when you're off the road. And the things that you've been doing really, really well is the rallies that build up the passion of those participating, those that are in the fight day to day. Those of you that are that are streaming so that the world can see it, so that your efforts are not in vain. You are doing exactly what you need to do. But when a politician lends his or her ear, or some social media influencer lends his or her ear, or some celebrity wants to stop by and support your cause, you have 3 steps, 3 things you can do with that activity. And you need to take advantage of it. You've been doing great in item number 1, harnessing that VIP visit so that it installs passion in those that are there on the ground, to keep it going, to build the number of people that are showing up, the participants with their family that are on the bridges, cheering you on, asking you to honk your horn. You're doing a great job at that. The second item, you can use the VIP visits, and I'm using your words, right? Everybody's a very important person, but politicians, legislators, and celebrities can bring attention to your cause. And you've done that too. You've got national news outlets stopping by to hear what's going on. And they're pushing it out, yeah, sure, with their perspective on it. But you've got your streams to counter any factual inaccuracies. So these visits, these VIP visits, can be used to draw attention. But when they're in your presence, when they're asking you what can they do, they really do mean what can they, that individual, that person, what can they do in a time frame that helps your cause? So what could Ted Cruz do tomorrow for you? What did you ask him? He's but one person in a Senate that is split between Democrats and Republicans. Not sure where they split on liberal and conservative. It's hard to tell these days. But he's but one person there. He is a person of influence, as is every senator. So ask yourself, did you give him something tangible for him to act on? Getting him laws that won't pass the House or the Senate? That's not going to be any good. And if it did pass, it would get vetoed, would it not? Likely. So what is it we could do? Now this is a discussion we have to have because every individual person is different. What would you ask Donald Trump if he showed up? What would you ask, Jordan Peterson if he showed up? Just there are different types of influencers and different types of actions they can take. What would you do if Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez showed up? You have to have and ask for everybody in Washington, D.C. And that's where we can help you. What we'd like to offer is what you might do in the coming days. Now that you have the contact information for Ted Cruz and his staff. He's but one man, but as I said, He's influential like every politician, every senator. You are a powerful industry. You are in essential service, and no one can take that away. You are as important to us as the farmers. Their food needs to travel in your trucks to the markets where everybody gets their food. There is a logistics supply chain that you know better than I, and better than the rest of us folks on Main Street, and certainly a hell of a lot better than the people in DC. Yeah, sure, they've got their experts that work in their ivory towers, but they don't have feet on the ground. They don't have skin in the game. So what could we ask of Senator Cruz? How about this? How about he reach out to the trade associations that represents the truckers? How about he reach out to the the retail associations? How about him reaching out to the farming community, the whole agricultural industry in totality? Ask them to put pressure on Congress. Ask them to vote with their dollars. Who are they going to support in the campaigns? What kind of public service announcements are they going to put out? One person, one senator can get these trade associations that live on K Street, these lobbyists, to pressure politicians, and we know the politicians will respond. We're already seeing it because the people stood up and got tired of the mask mandates and everything else going on that I don't want to distract us with. But lots of stuff going on where people said, well, wait a minute. We're not doing that. And it was fragmented but grew in popularity. But they need a way out. We can get rid of the vaccine mandates in each of the states because we can look at numbers that are trending down and the virus becoming weaker and weaker and weaker as they do. That is the natural course of these viral infections. We had SARS, it got weaker. This is just SARS-2, it'll get weaker naturally. But politicians need a win. They cannot go back on a statement that they've kind of pounded at the lectern. You need to give them a win. So the lessening cases of COVID allowed politicians, even very liberal politicians, to walk back their restrictions. So you're seeing some of the blue states now taking away vaccine mandates and mask mandates. What we need to do now is focus on federal and international causes. We need to look at the border. So we need to focus on the border. These trade associations that we're talking about need to say we need to get our goods across our northern border without restriction. You as a trucker should be able to drive through with your goods just as you did in the past. But I don't have the answer for you, but together I'm sure we can find the answer. But the answer has to be where both Biden and Trudeau's administration can relax the border restrictions without appearing as if they caved in. This is the art of the deal that Trump talks about. It's negotiation. It's compromise and goodwill and the right thing to do. from a liberal mindset. We just need to help them get there. Now I ask you, and we're willing to help, but we all have our own skills to offer this fight. We can help you craft that ask of those VIP visits. The politicians, I don't know, for lack of a better word, the famous. Even those that could help fund your cause to help sustain it for a longer period of time. All of those are important. But it is nothing unless you make your request actionable with a constituency that cannot be resisted by politicians. Now, I've got one last secret before we close this down, this first conversation down. K Street is full of lobbyists, think tanks, trade associations, all there for one purpose. And that's to craft a narrative and to build a constituency that they can offer influencers, politicians, in exchange for certain actions. I give you this much influence, this much audience. And what politicians do is they add those up. And that's why some of their legislation doesn't make any sense, because they're adding constituents until they get to some mythical number. Let's say it's 20 million constituents. I don't know what the actual number is. It could be 50,000 for some, it could be 50 million required for another. But I am damn sure you have more than 50 million people that support you out here. I would say you have closer to 150 million. Imagine if that constituency came to Washington together with a reasonable ask to allow you to earn a living unrestricted by some belief or ideal held by, a political party or an administration that happens to be in power. If we just band together, you can win this war. And you can continue to fight this fight. And secure the freedom and liberties that you enjoyed and pass them on to the next several generations. Thank you for hearing this message to the People's Convoy. Your time is much appreciated. On the video, you can see you can email us at TCC, that's the acronym for the Contemplative Citizen, TCC at kmdr.net. Let's connect. Let's fight the fight and win the war.